Hello everyone! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Weekend Frivolity. This is our aptly named Broiler Chicken Show. It is the weekend. I think, obviously with Bitcoin price coming off pretty hard here overnight and through the weekend, kind of, downer market, no doubt about it. I think we have been sort of talking a little bit lately that there's some nasty levels that are projecting to the downside. And if anything, the Monday to Friday videos, we just operate off the daily charts and there really wasn't anything to be done. I've been sort of mulling over how do we approach today's video with you guys. I mean, we could sit here and look at all the old levels and go through the charts and blah, 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 blah. But, everything's pointing down. Wonderful. Great. Well, that's easy. But I'm just wondering what's the best way to, make sure that we're getting value for the time spent here in these videos. And, can you learn anything? Overview, and I've been putting tweets out about this. We've had this recent little sort of consolidation. I guess we'll just do a quick overview here to start. In price, and it was just really a question of where we're going to hold. I think we were up against a 200 period moving average. Well, this is off the daily chart. I think that's the 200 SMA. So there was a lot of sort of humming and hawing in the space whether we were going to hold that. And unfortunately, of course, today we've been clearly told that nope, those previous lows have been broken. I think also too, and it's a bit disappointing, but I was kind of thinking through the weekend. We had put in this fractal bottom, we consolidated, we did that doji up, but I think on these free videos, Monday to Friday, we were sort of talking about boobity boo, AEB, and then clone that, CD, and that sort of painted an upside objective, and unfortunately, it looks like we got up into those levels, and the market just was like, I'm done. On the site yesterday morning, I was feeling pretty optimistic, woke up Saturday morning. Actually, when I was journaling, because I really think everybody, it's super, super important that you journal and log all of your activities, because you really have to try and learn from your previous trades. Is there something I can take out of this? You can even have losing trades that I really think if you log and journal, you can learn a little bit of information from the trade setup, and then, of course, that, when you write stuff down, it's weird how it sort of transitions from sort of that one part of your brain to sort of a longer term part of your brain memory. Looking at price action heading into the weekend, we had accepted above 13 EMA, and I saw some pretty clear sailing. We did have this AB equals CD, and it's kind of interesting that AB equals CD level was hit on a massive FU candle, and then price just collapsed following that. But I was kind of thinking that we got some room to explore to the upside here, so I was hunting longs Saturday morning. And the consolidation in price following Friday, and it's interesting because there's that original AB equals CD level that was never traded to, which is this level wasn't hit here. So if anything, that was a little bit of a warning sign, maybe that there was maybe some suspicion to that. That's why, journaling, writing this stuff down. But you can see, I love to trade my little bot setup. It was a small one. It was like a $400 upside objective up into 30 SMAs. Trend line resistance, a chaos level, all that kind of fun stuff. So I felt relatively confident taking this. And of course, my trading model simply says, I want to have a bunch of lows to work my stops against. And if these lows are taken out, well, markets just told me, sorry, Brad, you're wrong. And then I have to go into, okay, I'm managing a small business of trading. The market has told me that my thesis of, market's going to go up, market's going to go down, the market has basically told me that you're wrong. So what do you do then? Remember, I'm managing a small business. I got to make sure that I keep myself in business. So, as you can see, I took my long shot off of my bought level, and price was working higher. In fact, actually, first thing Saturday morning, price had confirmed a cute little fractal here, and we were ratcheting higher. That's feeling pretty good. All right. The irony of it all is you can see where my move stop to scratch level is. It was sitting here at 93.39. We got up to 9,300. Only within 30 or 40 bucks, and then I would have moved my stop to scratch according to my model. But no, in this case, we crapped right out, and this is where you got to put hubris away, right? And actually, it's really interesting because I'm doing a webinar, and actually, I find it fascinating. Like we're building out this webinar, and interestingly enough, in the webinar itself, I actually give you the secrets to making a small business of trading work. Working with a plan. Follow the process. 3 unrelated reasons for considering taking a trade. I mean, regular viewers, you've heard this over and over and over. And of course, site members. But of course, the real selling feature, I mean, it's one thing for some guy on YouTube just to bark this out to you. Okay, now I've got the secret out right now. I'm ready to go. It's quite another thing to actually do it. And and I've also tried to impart this onto the public, and of course, site members. They know this as religion. Don't put yourself into a position where you have to be right, because that's setting yourself up for disaster. You have to expect that, you just simply have to expect that you're going to be wrong, that this is a random world, and to all intents and purposes, the university professors are correct in saying that the market is random walk. And it's absolutely impossible to predict the future. Don't get into the habit of trying to predict the future. I don't know why people do this. They paint themselves into a corner becoming, I'm a great prognosticator. This is going to happen. Don't build yourself up to do that. I'm telling you, it's a mug's game. And one day you will be proven wrong after you went through a string of rights. And it's on that day that all your subscribers are going to sue, and they're going to put you out of business. You might spend 10, 15 years building yourself up. I'm so smart. One wrong call, and that whole business model collapses. I've seen it happen before, trust me. And then the worst part about it, this is the worst part about humanity, is these people build themselves up, I'm never wrong. And then they start to go wrong, and then they go down the evil rabbit hole, and they cover up the fact that they're not right. And then they, like Bernie Madoff, you start actually taking new money in to pay out old customers, i.e. the Ponzi, to just keep the lie going, and it's a vortex. So why set yourself up to begin with that you're not going to be wrong? Get used to it. We're humans. So here's a really good example where I was clearly wrong. And actually, I was actually pretty surprised at this, to be honest with you. I took the trade setup, but it's a bot, and I was like, I got stopped out, and I was like, oh fuck, all right, close the position, took the loss. And, I'm sitting there, okay, gotta go and journal, gotta be a demonstrator of best practices, really vet out, why did I take this setup? Was the setup valid? How was my behavior through this? Is this a behavioral issue, or is this a setup issue? And in this case, behavior, perfect. Appropriate risk. As I said, I had my reasons. I took my shot. Turns out it didn't work. So, and then on the event that it didn't work, I acted appropriately, and I think the loss on it was like 0.005 BTC. I mean, not a hell of a lot of money. Took my loss and journal. Get everything down. What did you see? Why did you act? Did you act appropriately? Was your failure based on behavior? Was your failure based on setup? It was just the setup. Okay, fine. Let it go. Appropriate risk taken. Next bus in 10 minutes. And of course, as you're going through this process, you're kind of like, oh man. And, I like what I really want to be, and maybe it's going to be the demonstrator of how to lose money in the market appropriately and drip, drip, drip instead of kaboom and you blow yourself up. I don't know. What I do know, though, is that if this trade was correct, I would have been paid $3. This trade was incorrect. I lost $1. So I've been playing this game long enough. I do know that everybody goes through losing streaks, but if you can build a trading plan where you can absorb these kind of losses, and at the same time, too, when you're right, of course, get paid commiserately, as long as your average winners are bigger than your average losers, at the end of the day, you are a profitable trader. But what it does mean is that when you say, look, I think this is going to happen, and it does not happen, you have to act and you have to manage your account as a small business owner. So I wasn't feeling very happy with this, but I went on the site and did the journal entries as a demonstrator of best practices. And I was actually really surprised at how a lot of site members were like, oh my God, this is so valuable. Oh my God, great job, Brian. Yep, you demonstrated these are not behavioral issues. It was just a setup. Don't take any sort of personal self-worth out of the trade. It's just another trade. Move on, rinse and repeat. And I have to tell you, that's the hard part of this game. Just going on Twitter or, social media or whatever, and, hey, buy this, sell that. It's really easy to hit the buy and sell button. It's how do you manage yourself when things don't go the way that you expected? That actually dictates who actually wins and loses at this game of trading over the long run. So it was a really interesting experience, and there's another guy on Twitter, Philby. I've made reference to him recently. Some of the studies that he's done that I really like. He and I were just sort of joking back and forth. Oh yeah, destruction, all that. But the thing here is actually, to me, this really wasn't that bad of a trade, and it wasn't that bad of a loss. It really wasn't that big of a deal. But what do you think? If I had done nothing and just held on to my ego, can you see how, oh my fucking God, my account is now destroyed. There's my stop where I was supposed to get out and I did nothing. And now I'm wiped out. Maybe even margin calls, maybe even, liquidations, and a small problem turns into an absolute disaster. And I've seen this happen to people before too. So, in a weird sort of way, a big part of what we do at TRI is just to teach people how do you lose money appropriately. What's what's best practices if I want to lose money at this? What's the best way to go about this? So anyway, hats off to anybody who was calling tops and shorting into that. Fucking A. Great trade. Like I said, I like the idea of trend continuation. I was feeling higher. Stamp was pointing up top, so I took my shot. Didn't work. Walked away. Next bus in 10 minutes, and I come back and turn on the screen today and go, holy holies, what a disaster. So, a bit has changed overnight. Actually, not overnight, probably over the weekend. What I'd probably also say, too, is there's a couple things I do want to try and mention here. I want to approach this as delicately as possible. Well, you know what I'm gonna first start off with. I think everybody should. Somebody on the site here today actually shared this video with me. It's over on Facebook, and I don't know how to share Facebook posts and stuff on Twitter. It seems the two of them don't get along very much anymore. But I was given this video today, and I have to say, it's fascinating because I do believe that the human species itself is going through an incredibly important transition window here. You can just see it. Oh, is that it? Was it actually on YouTube? I didn't know if this was on YouTube. I could only watch it on Facebook, so I had to dude it up through Facebook. But if there's a YouTube direct page link, then I would totally love that. So in fact, here I'm just gonna post that in the lounge. Where are you? Is that what this is? This better not be pictures of boobies. Oh, cool. All right. Double D's. All right, so that's cool. I'll post that on the lounge so I can look at it later on, and maybe I'll send it out there or something. I really enjoyed watching this. It was interesting. Is that Russian? Subtitles. So watch it off of the Facebook page or whatever. But I really enjoyed this, and it really speaks loudly to me because I do believe, like 5 different celestial events all happening in the same year. You haven't actually seen this in human history, and what's really interesting is the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto relationship. We haven't seen one of these since about roughly 1900 BC. And actually, somebody on the free YouTube page posted, well, it turns out that the city of Babylon was founded right around that last time. I mean, that was a big evolutionary change for the human species. And the irony of it all is I think you could argue that this species, to all intents and purposes, is basically the same since the days of Babylon. There hasn't been a heck of a lot of change. But I do see a lot of change is really coming on fast. And this also speaks to the great year kind of thinking that we as sort of, we're coming out of the dark ages of very internal thinking, very self-centered thinking, one God thinking, very isolationist thinking of the human experience to more of this sort of we're all energy. And we actually all interact together, and our energies, like you've probably heard people in your life say, karma begets karma. Have you ever heard that expression? And I thought this is really interesting is we're getting almost to the point now where science can actually quantify these energy waves and how, good energy attracts good and negative energy attracts negative. And really, I mean, all I say is I had a staggeringly life experience 9 years ago happen. And, sadly, unfortunately, the anniversary is coming up here basically in 1 week. And following that event, and like I said, I had sort of alluded to this earlier, I'm doing this webinar, and this gentleman has written out the script of my life. And it's incredible reading it back because it's so true. It's like the day I basically just said, look at I could sit there in a prop firm or a brokerage house or something and play the game and just grind people for money and commissions and fees and all that kind of shit and get sucked into that vortex, but it doesn't really make any difference in this world. But I have to tell you, like me sitting here on YouTube ranting to you guys for an hour or two every single week, totally for free. This is me trying to make a positive difference in this world. And please understand, when you watch these videos on YouTube and stuff like that, we don't get any commissions or advertising. Google probably bad karma. They probably collect and keep all of the ad revenue or anything that's generated off of all these views and stuff. But I don't even ask for it. I don't even want it, right? What I want to do, the whole purpose of this is to make a positive difference in your people's lives. So, like I said, I've been working away on this webinar, and I have to say, over the past 9 years since and really, it took me a year or two after JoJo passed to, just total out of it. Don't even know what the hell's going on. Once I sort of made this commitment, and I don't know whether I hallucinated it or not myself, but I honestly believe my wife came to me from the other side, which is pretty dramatic shit. That's a crazy statement. But she told me that I had the potential to make a real positive difference in this world. And what was really interesting about that is she said potential. She didn't say I was going to, but it was clear to the people on the other side that there was this window of opportunity. She had invested, we were together 18 years. And she followed me doggedly through my whole sort of self-teaching of the investment industry. Being the broke stalker, not the stockbroker. If you know what that life is like, you know what I mean. You kill what you eat and you eat what you kill. So since that date, literally, I have dedicated my life to just giving as much as I possibly can. Yes, we do ask for a very small fee to participate on TRI, but in comparison to the rest of the industry, these numbers are staggeringly low. And yeah, we do ask for a bit of compensation to teach you this stuff, but again, it's just basically to cover our costs. And if I can, help you through these YouTube videos and, these weekly, the daily videos, please do so. But please understand, too, I can't teach you the program through these free videos. I can give you little snippets, 3 reasons for a trade. I personally found location indicator confirmation through the idea of divergence. With price structure, it works very, very well. What I'm a little concerned about, which is kind of bothering me of recent, and I don't like the direction that it's going. It's almost like people are assuming that they can just follow along these free YouTube videos and learn how to be a professional trader, when all we're doing is we're just going over the very top. Like, what do we see right at the moment? Were there any trades that we've done right at the moment? There are so many components to setting yourself up to be a professional trader: journals, trading plans, spreadsheets, logs, all the ancillary tools. We've got a gentleman on the site who wants to create just a group within TRI just to try and tackle edge wonk. And all those fun tools. I mean, that's a whole education unto itself, just using the tools to appropriately run your business. So please, I know it's tempting just to tune into these free videos and go, okay, well, I'll just learn everything I need to know to be a professional and run my professional trading through these videos, when that's just simply not the case. And I can't, on a daily basis, I can't cover everything step by step by step by step. That's the whole reason why we built this full education program. I think that the level 1 program gives you a very good sort of basic introduction to, okay, what is this thing called, trading and investing, and overview of fundamental analysis juxtaposed with technical analysis, and juxtaposed with risk management, juxtaposed with insistence of working with trading plans and getting to know yourself and setting yourself up for success. What I'm really worried about, and I've seen this trend happen a little bit recently, is that people are taking little snippets out of the free YouTube videos, trying to run with that one concept, and I've seen people in the past do this before. Remember, I had one gentleman that actually worked with me, and he did free videos when I used to do all this stuff for free. And it was the lesson to me that none of you are actually going to learn how to be professional traders if all you do is you just mine free content on the net. It's just not going to work. There's so many nuances and intricacies, and ironically enough, to be successful at trading, you got to do things like 100 paper trades. And you got to, what does your spreadsheet look like to log those 100 paper trades? And how do you deal with emotions in the marketplace? Where do you download that, right? And how do you actually leverage that information to get better at trading? How do you identify where you're fucking up? Like I showed you with my trade this weekend. Was it a behavioral issue, or was it the actual setup, right? I mean, there's so many ways to fail at this business. But what I'm seeing is, and it worries me a little bit, is that people are just throwing in little comments. Oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. They can be helpful, but it's not a complete conversation. I do like the idea of the comments and stuff, feedback of what I'm saying, but please, I don't like the idea in the comments where you choose people that are just watching this and that I frankly consider newly educated, but not really professional educators, are maybe trying to help, but only giving like a part of this answer. And honestly, people, if you're watching these YouTube videos and you really want to get good at trading, you want to get good at running your small business of trading, get into this school. Just do it, right? And you know, it's something I just can't convey enough. Don't try and half-ass this. You got to take your education seriously here and very structured. And I got to tell you, I think Grim could easily be hired by a JP Morgan, a Goldman Sachs. I don't care. He is smarter than most professionals I've seen working in the industry 20, 30 years. This guy is solid, and he's our level 1 instructor, and I feel so confident that these people are being set up for success when they sit and just listen to him. I got to tell you, it's worth the money. It really is. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's worth the money. This isn't supposed to turn into a sales pitch, but I'm just worried that I see a nasty little, a trend developing on these YouTube videos that people are mining the video itself. Like I even considered today, to be perfectly honest with you YouTubers, and I even talked about it with the people, we got like 20, 30 people in the hangout here. I even thought maybe today, you know what? We're just not going to do a free YouTube video here today. We're just going to keep it internal. Because remember, I mean, I'm not getting paid for this. There's no reason for me to do these free YouTube videos. And sometimes I like it to be a platform to help the site people. So anyway, I won't go off too much more on that. I'm just going to simply say there's a dangerous precedent that's trying to be set on the YouTube videos. And it might actually get to the point where I don't even bother doing the free YouTube videos anymore because I don't like the direction I see that this thing's going in. It's a little bit bothersome. Having said that, PMA for the win. I want to stay positive. I want to be helpful. I don't want you to spin off on some tangent and get yourself into even more trouble. If you want a formal structure to this, get your butt on the site. All right, I'm going to leave it at that for that. Now, I was, as I had sort of said earlier, and really the only reason you people are watching is, give us the levels, what's going on in the market? I think as I had sort of explained earlier, I was feeling positive about the space. We were coming up into sort of potentially nosebleedy kind of territory with AB equals CD price action here, and indeed the little bullish continuation setup coming out of the New York kill zone yesterday morning. Turns out it was a trap, and they just broke the bull's hearts here. Unfortunately, as you can see from this image, and it's kind of weird because I've been doing this image, where is it? This kind of thinking recently. And I don't know, if we were lucky, maybe this is what happens. But have you guys noticed that the market has popped up? It slammed down into 50% rules. Mr. Gann's happy. Then it counter trend rallies away. And then it rolls over and slams into good old Mountain Man. And somebody on the site this morning is like, what's Mountain Man? What's Mountain Man? Obviously, new person to the site. Just for the record, Mountain Man is basically the 61.8 fib. Why do I call it Mountain Man? Because he's a guy that I used to work with when I was at a prop firm trading crude oil. His name, Brandon Rigo, for whatever it's worth. That doesn't really mean anything. But everybody in the trading pits has sort of a fun screen name. I didn't really like going down that road, so everybody just called me BB. Pretty boring. I suppose all you YouTubers go, just call him Loudmouth, right? Call him... anyway. But I just found in my career working with Brandon that he just religiously always hit the trigger on the 61.8 tag. Either buying or selling, and the guy made a lot of money as a trader. So here comes 61.8. You can see that level here on, this is on stamp at 7,600 and change. My hunch is we probably have a date with Mr. Mountain Man. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I was a little disappointed. I actually was kind of hoping that we would get this counter trend rally back up to 61.8 up on the upside, because that's sort of what happened here. But the market will do any old damn thing it wants. It just is what it is. I don't know whether this big fractal thesis kind of thinking is still relevant here, but the irony of it all is if I'm thinking AB equals CDs now, I actually have to move this line to that high now, which paints down in here at about 7,100 off of this massive AB equals CD. And this is the freaky thing, is I stumbled upon this fun little tool recently, and it's remarkable how it keeps spitting up sort of confluence of levels. So you'll notice that if I do my little chaos theory from this rally peak, this side of this big M, so this price action in here, and you can see it failed there, notice it's painting a target down here, 6,400. So, if we could do things like, and actually I did that off of this chart, if we do things like head and shoulders patterns, well, it turns out that head and shoulders pattern, boom, boom, if we go off, if we assume this is the appropriate neckline, actually, I think we can actually make that a little bit lower. There we go, there. Boom, 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 boom. That also is painting 6,400. In fact, actually, it looks like it's painting even a break of those lows. So I don't know whether we're going to be able to hold in here on Mountain Man. Remember when we had that 18th of February government auction of seized Silk Road coins? I think it was a Silk Road. Anyway, it was a U.S. Marshal's office. I don't know whether it was Silk Road coins or not, but anyway. I had sort of said that last cycle, 2015, when they did that pump into that auction, that on the other side, we just saw a quick stab violently straight down into Mountain Man and then turn back up. And I was kind of like, okay, well, if we're lucky, we can get that kind of action to set up our pre-halvening rally event window, because usually what I've found in crypto is, and I think if I'm not mistaken, the halvening date has now been moved to my birthday, and I've often found that crypto is just crap on my birthday, year in, year out, almost every day when I wake up on my birthday and I look at Bitcoin and it's down, and it's like, oh, thanks Bitcoin. April was actually when I was thinking about peak, but I mean, let's call a spade, people. Market will do any old damn thing it wants. If this is the top and we have topped out, so be it. That's the way it goes. A little concerned, I saw people posting cost of production studies and saying that the average cost of production right now is about $7,500. That number seems awfully high. I could understand that being the cost of production after the halvening event, but I don't think cost of production's in the 7,000s right now. I could be mistaken, but and you could make the argument like we had made the argument. I don't think it's on this chart. Might be. Oh yeah, here it is. So we made the argument last year. We used to have a guy on the site named Tony. Don't see him around the site too much anymore. But this was back in June 2019. And we made the argument at this point, so June 2019, about like $2,000-3,000 a Bitcoin. Energy prices are falling, so that can't be lifting of the cost. Mining equipment, like the rigs themselves, should be getting more efficient. So I can't see how, if you have even more efficient and even faster processors, that the cost of production would rise. If anything, it seems to me that as more and newer equipment comes online, the cost of production should fall. So I do still, ironically enough, with this number here from 2019, ironically enough, guys, I mean, I'm going to sound like a nerd and people are going to hate me for it, but I think that, after the halvening event, cost of production should be probably around $5,000, which is interesting because you can see that trend line there. That weekly, there it is. The weekly 4-year moving average, I love to follow this. Look how the market just totally obeyed that moving average here. And you can see even now it's sitting at 5,500. So interesting how 3,000 cost of production when we bottomed here. And now I would argue after the halvening, that number doubles. So now 5,000-6,000, which interestingly enough basically says market could play around with these lows quite a bit just to fuck around with the crypto community, which is a bit depressing, I suppose. But at the same time, too, I've sort of mentioned this. Ironically enough, I'm going to lose 80% of my investment because I'm running into a face rip rally, FOMO blow off top. That's not the state of crypto now. If anything, I like the idea that, if we think about this as a big honkin' triangle. So this is basically our playground. And this might go on for quite a while, folks. There's no reason why it can't. We'll know that this is a bull. I'm a bull. If we come down and test these lows, they hold, and we turn back up. That would be encouraging. But for the time being, I think we're still stuck in this triangle. It's not going anywhere. So, we can start drawing things like reload zones within reload zones, head and shoulders is objectives, that chaos level fractal objective. I don't see any reason why we can't trade back down to 6,500 here. Wouldn't surprise me. Nobody wants that, but at the same time, too, we're not really here in the business of telling the market where to go. What we want to do is, all right, do we have a setup that we know probability-wise, if this, and this happens, and I do that, I've got a pretty good chance of seeing my desired outcome. That's what we do as traders. That's our job. You just got to roll with the punches. If the market isn't moving up and you're a bull, well, that means you just got to cool your jets. It's an interesting conversation, too, about, just so you can see this. Whoops, what did I take off there? That was this line I want to get rid of. Interesting conversation, too, here about our moving averages. I remember a couple weeks ago, people were talking about golden cross. I will say, if you ever see a moving average cross where the price has already rallied quite a bit, just be a little bit jaundiced. Remember, we as market participants, the best thing for us to do if we have confidence in a setup is simply let some consolidation happen. And then, me and my bot, right, I got 3 lows to risk against or 3 highs to risk against. After that consolidation, you can start going rah bull. But what I was a little worried about here, and indeed this is the case, is you have this big rally up here. The moving averages sort of force themselves to come back up, but it turns out it's just a kiss, and we roll back over. Boo, hiss, hiss, boo. I've seen that happen a lot. It sucks. I suppose you could argue just looking at this image, wicks and tails like to be eaten. So there's a huge window down in here of unfinished business. That seems logical to me. You can see Mountain Man sitting there at 7,900. And, for all those like mom and pops, hey, I just want to be in a, trending market where the higher time frames are pointing in my favor. Well, right now you just got to cool your jets. We have this fractal top failure. I remember talking to you guys about that a week or two ago. Oops, what did I just do there? All right, that's boom, boom, boom. Move through that low is a big sell signal. Yuck. Right now, in fact, you could probably even make the argument there's a bunch of trap bulls in there. Remember Brian, he took a little long setup and it failed. He got out, but I can guarantee you there's a bunch of people there that bought that are just, they're sitting in those longs going, oh, fuck, please, 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 please come back, please come back, please come back. So you can see this wick right here. There's a bunch of trapped bulls in there. And interesting, too, on this trend line, notice if we rally back up, you can see this trend line off the top, this trend line off the bottom. My hunch is this sort of apex right here should be pretty stiff resistance right in there. Man, Brian's full of wonderfulness today, eh? And if anything, I guess it just goes to show how fickle markets can be. The irony of all this, though, is, and this is sort of one of my conversations about the stock market right now, is I don't really think a lot of this has to do with fundamentals of Bitcoin. I mean, cost of production. Let's not chase. Let's not pay too much. When the market is chasing, when the market is, that's interesting. So, Pepe just posted in the lounge, according to that one site, $4,000 is current Bitcoin. That says Bitcoin's current intrinsic value. So I don't know whether that's cost of production or whether they're using some other metric, PP. But cool to see. I don't know whether I necessarily agree with that, but before the halving, I do like the idea somewhere around, why would your cost of production be $2,000-$3,000 a year or two ago and be substantially higher now? I don't get that. I know people say, well, the hash rate's rising and stuff like that. I think any way you shake it, and as I just said there a moment ago, Pepe just posted this in the lounge. Let's see. I mean, we can share this on the. This might be Pepe's mining website to fish for your information, so please be careful. I'm just kidding, Pepe. I don't think he's that bad, but I do know we've had some pretty interesting characters in crypto that might actually do that. But I'll post that on the YouTube page for your reference if you want sort of an outside third-party reference to cost of production. But I mean, if Pepe's right and it's $4,000 and here we are at 8,300, is there any risk in this market? Yeah, I think so. Where the hell do we take you guys next? I mean, we can look at Ethereum levels, same sort of thing. I was feeling optimistic. We had this really nice little battle in here. Inside bar. I didn't hunt a long setup on this one, but this is an interesting commentary on that 30 SMA. Eh? Watch how 30 SMA just stopped her in her tracks right against this original M top there. Somebody said, no, you get your ass back down. We have broken this low, so as a result now we can start thinking AB equals CD. Clearly they've got the market on the run here. This was probably half liquidations of long contracts and, traders saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to buy this inverted empire, I'm going to buy this W, and I'm going to risk against these lows. Bang, they all got stopped out. So be it. That's the way it goes. Interestingly enough, from a fractal perspective, this is the daily chart on Phoenix, so that's an issue unto itself. But you don't actually get a new sell signal now here, ironically enough, from a fractal perspective until we actually lose these lows here, right? The fractal goes boom, boom, boom. So, interestingly enough, Ethereum's got a little bit of wiggle room to work with. And also interesting, too, we bumped up against 113, although I don't know whether we actually hit that or not. Whoa, what's this? Pepe's site is what? They're trying to sell you a subscription to something. What's this? Pepe's site also computes the cost of production of LTC at 66, ETH 148. Very interesting. Yeah, I think I've heard people talk about LTC's cost of production around 60 some odd dollars before. I've heard that. I think I remember I told you there was that one company that was mining Litecoin at $100, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Turn the machines off, you idiots. Anyway, so, she's pointing down. There's no buy signals here, and we'd actually have to lose this low here to actually generate that continuation fractal sell signal. So, I don't know. Maybe if we're lucky, we can just sort of back and forth and start Wing out. Maybe make like a head and shoulders here. But is there any reason to be a buyer here today? Not really. Brian, he loves his trade location as sort of your first reason to consider taking a trade. Remember, the cadence that we teach at TRI is wait for location. Then wait for confirmed indicator divergence. Do you know what a confirmed divergence difference is between a confirmed divergence and a potential divergence? Maybe there's some confusion on YouTube about that. Then we want to wait for market structure. I'm telling you, I learned this model 30 years ago. Don't fight me on this. It works very, very well. Does it work 100% of the time? No. No system setup ever works 100% of the time. But in our level 1 course, we teach you the El Tango Netter setup, which I learned, like I said, 30 years ago. And it works very, very well. So I have no problem whatsoever, but using concepts like divergence, I think they're incredibly powerful tools. I think they give traders a very powerful message about price action. And it's important to remember the cadence that this falls into. We don't hunt for divergence first. We hunt for location first. So, location, you can see where reload zones are here. At this location, I will start hunting for signs of divergence and then signs of market structure, and then that might produce a trade setup. Right for now, there just ain't a hell of a lot to do here. And it's also interesting too, there's an interesting commentary where this W here didn't really develop in good trade location. And often this is what happens when, W's, great market structure, but we're not in good trade location. Well, why did your W fail there, Beamish? You said W's were awesome. Well, it really didn't happen in very good trade location. We should always start all of our conversation off right off the bat. Trade location. What are the 3 words in real estate? Location, location, location. So, are we in a good location here? No. We suppose we can go take a look at Charlie. What's Charlie up to? Oh, geez, Charlie. What the hell are you doing to us, man? A really good analogy. I remember there a few weeks ago, we kind of cautioned people about this as a potential trap. I do remember there was a gentleman who asked if buying Litecoin was a good idea up top here, and I was kind of like, gee whiz, that's at a profit-taking objective. Maybe you ought to cool your jets. Ironically enough, this is actually moving in a very textbook stair-step fashion. It's interesting how price is trying desperately to hold on to Mountain Man here. But, there are some problems. I've got now this AB equals CD that's projecting down into here. And I suppose you could even, which really sucks, you could go AB, CD. It's kind of sloppy. I don't know whether I would really use that, but that's projecting down into there. I like, if anything, I like Julian on the site. Been doing regular reports, and he's trading up a storm in gold, just killing the market. Oh, and by the way, Julian strapped on a short hedge on Ethereum yesterday. Way to go, Julian. Julian is in the zone. And what I told Julian right now, and it's so beautiful to watch, because every trader goes through this. You'll go through windows where you are just bulletproof. You're unstoppable. And it's beautiful to watch. Sometimes I go through my little windows where I feel like I'm unstoppable and banging out doubles and blah, blah, blah. And then other times you're like, fuck, I can't get out of my own way. So I was just like, Julian, journal this. Write down everything that you see, everything that you smell, everything that you're tasting. Try and remember all of this stuff, because I guarantee you, it's ebb and flow in a trader's life. And if you really want to be a trader, you have to learn that. Excellent anecdotal information, because when you go through those tough times, it's like you're looking up out of a 50-foot pit, and all you see is just the walls around you, and you're just like, oh my God, am I ever going to get out of this? And it's great having that journal information to go back into your journal and review. And what you might find is, oh yeah, I kind of slipped away from moving that. Okay, well, yeah, oh, look at that, actually, yeah, when that was really working well. Now, why did I move down this road? Okay, well, let's try and right the bus, and let's see if I can get back to more behavior of when I was really kicking ass and what I was doing and seeing then. Tell you, you could, if you can learn that one concept, that is worth the entire $3,000 investment we're asking you to make in TRI, from the beginning of level 1 right through to the end of our derivatives education program, the whole thing. that one thing. Can you learn how to journal? And can you download that information so that you have it for future reference? And it took me like 5 years to get that light bulb to go off for Julian. The light bulb's got off, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so thankful I'm journaling now." So, and as I had sort of showed you right at the beginning of the broadcast, by journaling, at least I let go. Did I actually make any mistakes on this failed trade? No. Technically, I followed my plan, took my shot, got stopped out. So what? Next bus in 10 minutes. So I've emotionally let go of this as well. So can't tell you how incredibly valuable that journaling. And of course, like I said, the people at TRI, what we do is we set all this stuff. Okay, what should be in your journal? How do you want to journal? Do you want to journal every day? Do you want to journal on paper? Do you want to journal electronically? We got a guy on the site, I think he's in the call here, Random Task, who actually wants to build a group to, okay, let's see if we can go attack. Oh, is he here? He was here earlier. I guess he took off. Let's go attack this edgewonk thing as a group, and let's see if we can work together. I know, totally, Joshua. I mean, Grim. Joshua, you're the fucking man, too. I mean, Joshua, I'm so thankful I have this community all built and all you beautiful people around me. And if anything, what I absolutely love is actually waking up in the morning and just asking myself, can I be a demonstrator of best practices for these people? Because these people are great people. They're just awesome people. And if anything, I almost feel like, like if you have an anonymous community and there's no sort of direct feedback with people, you don't really know. Kind of like this YouTube kind of experience. But these people on the TRI community, I've gotten to know them. Like, hell, Joshua and I, we had an In-N-Out burger in the middle of a... Where the hell were we in LA? I travel 3,000 miles to see Joshua. We go to like In-N-Out burger. But I still have that image in my mind. Him sitting right beside me, just chowing down on his burger, going, "Yeah, this is totally rad, man." I'm so thankful for these little memories. Anyway, I'm not quite sure where I was going with all that. My apologies. I see you over there, Joshua, and you just stars in my eyes over there on YouTube. Murat! If you're in Germany, man, go out of your way to meet this Murat person. I mean, I got to tell you, he is so special. And it's beautiful to watch him work with pi and mathematics and stuff like that. I think I've told you guys before, half of my job here is just to make all of you people famous, because you are beautiful, beautiful people. PMA for the win, really. Okay, and then this all comes full circle. Just go and watch this video and understand what it is we're trying to do at TRI. And what I really love, what I think is happening, and fingers crossed, is we've embedded the basics, the process of trading. We've embedded that. I think people get it on the site. I didn't reinvent anything here. It's just it took me 30 years to put it all together. But we've embedded it in this TRI experience. And if we're really, really lucky, and these people are such nice people, they're good people. I love that. I mean, they're good people. I would really like us to be like a little safe place in this world. Because keep in mind, this 2020, I mean, you see this crazy beer flu. I mean, this is getting absolutely out of hand. And if anything, what we really need is we just need some positive leadership. And what's really weird about this guy, technically according to what he's thinking, is you could actually engineer your own death just by thinking that direction. And, he has in one of his examples a religious cult down in the States where they are basically defying science just out of their beliefs. So I often tell people on the site, right, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're absolutely right. No ifs, ands, or buts. The cool part about it is we know the process. I mean, you go to like my old prop firm, Top Step, they won't teach you the process. Or they will get you to buy like $10,000. Fuck that online trading academy. I mean, it's like $30,000. to learn the process, and they still don't even do a very good job at teaching you the process. I have to say, a big part of the process is just simply being positive, understanding. Please understand, everyone, nobody said being a trader and making money from trading was easy. I don't remember anybody ever saying that. This is hard work. This is a profession that you're trying to learn here. And the worst part about this is it's not in the higher-up's best interest for you to learn how to control your behavior and to learn the secret. Nobody wants you to learn that, because then you're not going to want or need their services, which of course come with fees. So is it in their best interest to teach you all the process? Not really. And interestingly enough, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm telling you, learn location, divergence, structure, go. That setup works. It's time tested. But the thing is you have to be patient. You have to be disciplined. You have to wait for your reasons. You have to act appropriately. You have to take appropriate risks. You have to understand that nothing's ever going to work in this world 100% of the time. You have to understand that if you are right, you have to get paid commensurately to when you're wrong. Nobody said this was easy. But the great part about it is we at least know the process. Marat, what do you think? You're over there on YouTube. Tell these people. Have you learned the process? Joshua, have you learned the process? That's what we're here to teach you, is the process. Anyway. Maybe in 5 minutes when YouTube catches up, they'll be like, yep, I'm learning, but I don't see any response right now, so I feel like I'm just talking to myself. How about you guys in the lounge? Have you guys learned the process? Actually, Rob's been here for a very long time. And I believe that Rob has learned the process. So actually, I'm pleased. And actually, that's also another thing too, is what I really like is we have a lot of people that are around the site for years. We have other people that come and go, and really, there's nothing holding anybody to the site. Everybody, speaking of which, Mr. Saturn Pluto himself. But the key here, well, and Booha says here, I'm learning, but I'm not in TRI. I mean, it's interesting. Like, I'm working away on this webinar, and it's actually filled me. It's got me, because this gentleman who wrote the webinar, he knows how these things are supposed to be built and what you're supposed to say to be most effective. And really a big part of the webinar, Brouhaha, is you can spend the next 5-10 years trying to figure this out on your own, but we've already put all of the pieces in place. And we've got people that have done this and gone through the process, and of course we've got tons of supports. So you can take this the very slow route, and what worries me is you start interacting with people that are chatting in the YouTube comments, and you start hearing what they're saying. These people have not been in the business for like 30 years. And you start getting derailed. Well, okay, so this guy says that, so I'm not going to do that anymore. And you maybe lose a year or two. And trust me, time can go by very, very quickly in this business. So, and ironically enough, I don't really care what tools you use. When I was a broker, I used to tell this to students all the time. If you, if I was your broker and I called you up with picks, and the picks were working and you were making money, would you care what the reasons were that I was deciding what I was interested in or not? I mean, that's the irony of all of this, is that I'm indicator agnostic. I'm technique agnostic. I'm actually a student of the market. I mean, we teach you in our education program, which I know is incomplete. And one of my students here is saying, okay, I'm waiting for the level 4, Brian. When's it going to come? So, I mean, we're certainly, it's not a finished education program. And I have about 4 or 5 modules that I could easily create a level 4. I just got to somehow get the time around to do it all. So I don't really care what your signals are. I'm telling you, location, divergence, structure, go. It produces 60-70% results, and that's the kind of numbers I like, where my winners are bigger than my losers. It works for me. I mean, you figure out whatever works for you, but I'm a little worried that people are going to try and use this YouTube page to learn how to trade, and I don't think that that's healthy. Remember, we've said this in previous works. What's the name that we actually have to give these kind of videos? See if anybody remembers on YouTube. And it'd be good that you YouTubers write this. You have to understand, this is one word and one word only. If you can get something out of these free videos that, hey, I never knew that before, or I've never seen that before, great. But there's one word for these free YouTube videos and one word only. Anybody on YouTube even know what that word is? This is not a formal education program. Let's put it that way. I'm just barking about what I see in the market and then, throwing out little tidbits here and there. Nobody knows? The word I'm looking for is edutainment. So, consider yourself edutainmentized. Now, remember, guys, I mean, the irony of all of this is I actually want to be a buyer of crypto. Remember, I'm still trying to buy ideas. It's just they're not coming down into my levels. So I like the idea of using pullbacks and using the public irrationality to my advantage. I'll tell you, if they throw this stock market out with the bathwater, right? Throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'll be in there on the long side as soon as the W's start coming in, but I got to see some W's, right? Same thing with crypto. I mean, and this is why it's really important to always keep some powder dry, right? Is you always have to be in the position that if the market just freaks out and they just start dumping, Bitcoin cranks down to $2,000 or something, at least you're in a position to be able to go and pick up some of that. So it's a really, really good idea to always keep some powder dry. I'm not making any predictions here or anything. I'm just giving you sort of a hypothetical. This simple message here, you can see there's nothing going up here right now. Is this really based on fundamentals, or is it based more on sort of, not even geopolitics, but geo events? Coronavirus, beer virus, and all that kind of talk. In an interesting sort of way, I might argue that this actually opens up a really, really cool fundamental valuation window. Because, the great part about crypto and especially, POS coins, oh boy, that's a bit of a problem. You saw what Justin Sun did there on, what was it? It was Steam, right? Wasn't it? Steam? I think that was Steam. One of you guys in the lounge, can you confirm? Which one was it? I think, remember Colin was telling us about that story, right? Yeah, Steam. So, you guys, and if you over watching on YouTube, if you want to try and figure out what the hell Steam is, not a bad idea to do a bit of work on that. But that's an excellent anecdote of why people have been concerned about POS from day one. Interestingly enough, I think Mr. Sun actually set a dangerous precedent there. Out of his own greed, he may have set some wheels in motion that actually he's probably not too pleased with. But we'll see what happens. They always say, who can finish this line over on YouTube? You guys, I don't know whether maybe the delay is really bad, but those who the gods wish to destroy do what? Words to live by. And one main reason why I do like free shit, I live in a crappy little 2-bedroom condo. I don't drive a fancy car because I don't want to get sucked into that ego bullshit. And, 2017, I could have shilled the shit out of TRI and, of course, gotten totally destroyed the following year. Yeah, very good. Not too shabby. I like that name. Not too shabby. Right? Remember that. Write that down. If it's one thing you could actually... those are the gods wish to destroy? I hope not. Sonny. It's our little Belgian smartass. Those who the gods wish to help. Those are the people that go take the TRI course and don't take more than 5% risk on any one trade. Thank you very much. But anyway, and actually, Shane, you're here now, aren't you? How goes the van? Do we want to know? Maybe I'll ask you after I finish recording here. But Shane put out a really, really good study. I haven't looked at it in a bit on the various cost of production models. Problem is, I can never remember where they put all these damn things. Didn't you actually do a script or something on TradingView of it? It was so cool. You got that link handy so I can show the good people on Twitter? Or what are you guys? YouTube. Oh, and this is always fun. Let's see how many downvotes we can get. As I'm supposed to always say, if you got any value out of today, and maybe today it was totally valueless, I don't know. Hopefully I showed you a little bit of how a professional manages when they're wrong and how I had to admit that I was wrong and I got stopped out and I journaled and logged and blah, blah, blah. Hopefully that was some value to you. Hopefully, location, indicator confirmation, structure, go. Learn that 3-step process. The 3-step setup. We teach it in the program religiously. You call it El Tangonator. I don't really care. But that setup works great. If there's anything you YouTubers need to learn that setup, the El Tangonator. And here's a fun little trade. Of course, we got a bunch of cool little studies like Pepe's cost of production model page. That's a nice little share. I mean, we certainly wouldn't take credit for that. But Shane here, for example, he's done just awesome work. If you're not familiar with Shane's work, do you mind if I put this on the YouTube page there, Slick? I love this kind of thinking, right? All right, thanks, man. I'm going to put that in the YouTube page. There was actually, it was interesting over the weekend. One of our old TRI OGers sent me a message where he found this cost of production model, and I thought he wrote it. It was okay, but I think the one thing that was lacking about this study was actually Shane's study. He was close, and he came up with some basic models. Oops, I don't know what I just did there. But if you can take this gentleman's work and then juxtapose it with Shane's actual awesome little trading view. In fact, here, why don't we even put them in the comments so you can see that later. So we'll do cost of production study. It's not bad. I thought this gentleman did a pretty good job. We'll go POW, cost of production study, something like that. And then we'll also add in, I'm not quite sure how to do this, but we'll say Shane's awesome cost of production for POW trading view script. And we'll put that one in there. Holy Jesus, that's a big link. I did something wrong there. if you find any value in any of all this stuff, hit the likes button, subscribe, and of course, wow, look at that crazy ass link. Oh, it's a redirect. Yeah, what a headache. It just needs to be as cool. Wow, what a mess. Sure hope that works. I may have screwed that up. But anyway, fingers crossed. Whoops. Oh, man. All right, so I posted that in there. Oh, no, it didn't work. I'll have to go and edit that post later to make sure that the link is correct. I don't know what I've done wrong here. Wow, what a mess. Gotta hop. Hey, well, take it easy, bud. And thank you, Jonas. IKEA, that's comfortable. I don't know why that's not working. Darn. Anyway, I totally derailed myself here. Damn, why are you doing this to me? Oh, well, that's the way it goes. Okay, what do we got here? Let's try this. Yeah, that's what I thought. Should be a really simple link. It's turning into a major headache. Okay, there we go. Okay, so check those out in the comments. A couple of really cool little links for you. And, remember, if you're ever investing in a commodity, you want to keep it really, really simple. Just try and figure out what the cost of production is. If you can get in underneath the cost of production, it's a great deal. As it stands right now, I'm not really interested in any new long ideas here. If you wanted to work stink bids down in gaps, in reload zones, understand there's no guarantees that the floor is going to hold here. It's not a bad place to be thinking about taking a shot. I've often found that Litecoin with its crazy AB equals CD action is an incredibly, just a great leading indicator. So AB equals CDs, as you can see them on Litecoin, I really don't have any expectations. And also, too, remember, I guess we're sort of sitting now below cost of production on Litecoin. So you could make the argument Litecoin's now coming into a fundamental value window. That same sort of logic. We're coming into this reload zone. So we're starting to get location. Can we pull up our indicators and start to see divergence? Oh, hello. So here's a really good example where a lot of people, a lot of the public, they actually fail in divergence. So, they would see this price go to new lows. They would look down at their indicator and go, oh, we are now in divergence. When that's actually, it's technically correct, but it's not really going to help you a heck of a lot. In that this is divergent, right? The low on the MACD here is higher than the low in price. But we don't really know whether this is a bullish event here until we actually get structure. Either a big W, which indeed then we say it is confirmed divergence. Or, and this is where most people fail with this, if you start assuming this is a bullish divergence now, we might just M out here and keep heading down. Totally plausible, right? Just like this. So you can't even really call this a usable market information yet. On this site, of course, we would call this potential divergence, not confirmed. These are the kind of things that you learn at the TRI site that you probably miss through these free YouTube videos. And I'm not really going to go through this step by step. What's the difference between confirmed and potential, and when do we use this information here? This is just supposed to be, hey, level oneers, you still got some questions outstanding, or somebody got a question about a tweet that I put out, and I just sort of, I'm talking out my butt. It's not like formal education classroom setting. So I do not have divergence yet here. And interestingly enough, we did our little RSI studies. Everybody should be able to look at this and go, all right, we got one M that stopped the bull, and we got another big M through 50 line. Oh my goodness, runaway bear. And then you can see we sort of, okay, maybe we're going to break that runaway absolute train wreck bear, and I think maybe your purple is even like off of there, right? Just totally steep. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. So this guy goes and breaks that purple right there. So we say this stopped the bear. But you see, boom, they've gone and broken that. And now I think we could make an argument we got a new yellow working here. Now, this isn't through the 50 line, so I don't think it's going to be a massive face rip, huge monster move. But, and I don't know whether we would go yellow or purple. But this is very end of move. You can see RSI right now sitting 35. Once we get down to this 30 level, which isn't too far away, RSI doesn't like to be overbought or oversold for too long. So if anything, kind of like what you see here, maybe we get some sort of calamitous dump. That's the bottom, and then we start violently reversing and heading back up again. But as it stands right now, you can see the little message that the bull stopped the bear. That's been broken now. And really that sort of corresponds with what we're seeing on price. Yeah, we are careening our way lower here. It's interesting how we've come up against this trend line here on Litecoin. You can see how the market stopped that. Here's good location, right? So we've got reload zone. We've got an interesting notch on the profile. Yes, the ABCDs are pointing lower, but it doesn't have to happen. Can we start getting indicator signals that this is finished going down? We don't have it on RSI yet. We don't have divergence on MACD yet. You can see the bears, level oneers. Do we have any level oneers on the call here? How about over on YouTube? Are you any level oneers there? So this is a really good example of volume impetus. Hey, Andrea. Can you see how the bears are still very active here? They are not going to sleep. You can see how the bears were very active here. Hey, Paul, can you guys see this? Can you see how active the bears are here? Rawr, I'm a bear. Rawr, look at me. I don't know, hopefully all you guys can say. Hey, Paul. The good part about this is we are making lower lows in price, but notice the bear volume isn't as high as this. So maybe volume impetus, maybe we have one high, two highs. We're going to need now a third high. And then, these are going to be a whole bunch of bars in here, kind of thing. These are all red, of course, right? 1, 2, 3. And maybe there's some green in there too. Doesn't really matter. And then we need to see a red bar that's lower than that there, right? Maybe I'll quickly change these. I'm having fun here. What the hell? So red. And maybe we'll make this a green. And I'll make that a red. And maybe some more red. And maybe like a green. And then a red. All right. So can you sort of see that pattern? That's what we're going to have to see. And then we actually have to see to know that the bull is done and it's over. And phew, all right, we're back to being a bull. We have to see a red bar lower than this one here. So we're nowhere near this bull being done, or this bear being done, right? It's going to be a while before the bear goes to sleep here. So, and then we look, of course, at our OBV indicator. And what do you think, guys? Is this OBV bullish or bearish? I mean, it's pretty obvious. Kind of, but not yet. It's going to take some time, Ahmed. Ahmed, are you in the level one? So, point here is this is going to take some time. Now, actually, this is kind of cool because you notice that this volume peak here is lower than this volume peak here. So you might even argue that there's this high here, there's a high there, there's a high there. So it does look to me like the bears are running out of steam. What we'd really like to see is the bears, of course, totally go to sleep. Now, interesting too. Can you guys see how the bulls are trying to get more active here? Don't go to sleep, you bulls. Notice, whoops. Oh, come on, you. Notice this high in volume is lower than that high, so that's not good. And you can see the bull volume. It looks like everybody's sort of losing their enthusiasm. So, you know, we look at this sort of volume pattern. Bears still very, very active. Bulls, not so active, more reactionary than active. And then we look at our OBV indicator, and there's no sign of any sort of bottom there yet. Now, you know, the day's still young. If we get some sort of insane reversal through the day, and this actually goes and prints green, well, that'll be a really encouraging sign. That'll start turning OBV around, but as it stands right now, there's nothing to work with. So. All right, so put it all together, and you know, I didn't know what I was going to talk to you guys about today. I don't know. You guys over on YouTube, do you feel like you got any value out of this? How about you guys in the lounge? Did anybody get anything of value out of this? I don't know. Sure hope so. If anything, a good talking to. That's about the way I'm going to look at today's conversation. You know, I always do like to use, Litecoin as a nice leading indicator in this space. So let's keep an eye on good old Litecoin, and let's wait for signs of confirmed divergence. And let's then wait for some W's, kind of like what you saw happen here. I think I showed you guys. Do you guys remember I showed you this chart probably a week or two ago, maybe a month ago, and sort of said, how long does it take bottoms to develop? And this was 20 bars. And then how long did it take the top to develop? And it turns out this was about 15 bars. Well, I hate to say it, guys. It's probably going to take that kind of window for us to come down, start painting divergence, confirm divergence, right? And then we start Wing out, and away we go. So it is going to take some time. And also, too, this is sort of bigger picture kind of stuff. I'm counseling people that I actually don't think this market actually turns back up and we start feeling positive again until the first weekend of April. Remember, it's interesting. At the beginning of the year, I was kind of like Ides of March, which is basically mid-month. But I don't think, and also too, if we think about what's going on with the beer flu, from what I understand, it's about a 2-week incubation period. So if the cases are going to just absolutely mushroom cloud here in the U.S., it's probably going to be a good couple weeks of everybody freaking out. So, it's interesting that this date here happens to correspond roughly with sort of the previous Trump dump kind of price action. Frankly speaking, people, I wouldn't be surprised if there's another leg lower in the stock market here. And I've been sort of put tweets out, well, not tweets, but just talking with the site people, just saying, is it about time? Maybe, where the hell's the damn image? Here it is. Maybe now is when crypto actually has to play catch up with the other risk-on assets. So that's sort of how I'm looking at this right now. And, the interesting thing about this is that I don't think that this is a good fundamental reason to be a seller. I think this is actually an absolutely horrible fundamental reason to be a seller. And once they've washed price out, clearly, the problem with the stock market is that, of course, they're blaming beer flu, but I know for certain that this was all about that Leaps options expiry. $7.5 billion in options changed hands. In equity, not options, equity changed hands just on the SPY alone. Just imagine if one asset, $7.5 billion, how many stocks have options on them on the New York Stock Exchange? I mean, the numbers are, if not in the hundreds of billions, might even be in the trillion neighborhood that changed hands on that Leaps expiry. I personally believe this is all about that, and they're using beer flu as the cover. But that's Brian tinfoil hat kind of talk. I do find it really interesting in our level 3 course. And again, it's so important. Please don't for a moment think you can just take the level 1 course and you finish that and now all of a sudden you know everything that TRI is teaching. That's not even a third, and that's the basic introductory course just to get you going. I mean, if you really want to go down this technical analysis rabbit hole, you have to complete the whole course. I'm not going to go into detail about it today, but Colleen, you're on the call here today, aren't you? And I think you're on the YouTube page over there as well. Yeah, there you are. Colleen, just on the YouTube page, our conversation that we had about the VIX index and the option open interest, are you now seeing how completely finessed this market is? And the level 3ers got just a fantastic lesson because, of course, we study the derivatives markets in earnest in level 3. They got a fantastic lesson on how even human emotion and your emotional response, i.e. through the manipulation of the VIX index, is actually incredibly pre-planned. You have already been pre-programmed. You don't even realize it. You have already been pre-programmed by these billionaire, trillionaire trader guys to act in very specific ways. And it's quite shocking. Do yourself a favor and go look at the volatility indexes open interest on the put options heading into the first week of April, and then go and look at the volatility on the put options, the prices, the open interest, on the options that expire even a week after that April 1st weekend and into May. And all of a sudden you see the entire data set shift. So clearly somebody, some higher up, knows that there's something that's going to happen here the beginning of April, end of March. And I find it fascinating. Go look through my tweets if you can see if there's some sort of big event that's supposed to happen here at the end of March, beginning of April. And wow, what a coincidence. You know, I don't know whether any of you guys have ever heard of it or not. But what did J.P. Morgan say about astrology? That'd be an interesting note to leave. Shane, this is music to your ears. What did J.P. Morgan say? In fact, actually, why don't we put that as a challenge for comments, and I'll give you a plus up, because I like that when I get comments back from people on these videos. It shows, good interaction. What did J.P. Morgan say about astrology? And frankly speaking, what I see here is there are people putting serious money down on these actual events. Like, they are actually putting hundreds of millions of dollars on the line on these events. It's quite shocking, really. Okay, wanted to try and stay positive through this offering here this weekend. I sure hope you got some value out of it. I have to say again, I apologize to the gentleman in particular, but I really do not like cross sort of teaching through the comments. And even though maybe you've completed the level 1 program, you have just scratched the surface with the kind of tools and information that we teach our professional traders. Please don't believe that if you finish the level 1 program, you have even gotten through a third of my 30-year experience. You're just starting. So PMA for the win. I definitely believe I want to keep this as positive and as helpful for all of you people on YouTube. But I have to tell you, looking at this YouTube feed and saying, okay, well, screw it. I'm not going to subscribe to his website. I'll just follow these free videos and these rants. You're not really doing yourself a favor. If anything, what I'm trying to impart on you, especially with all of our commentators that come in, I mean, Julian's just in the zone. Wouldn't you want to know what the hell's going on in Julian's head right now? And I often see that with traders. And, actually, I used to work with a guy, Bob, I am a dicko. That's what we used to call him. And he was a typical Wall Street pro. I mean, this guy, he was an asshole. But he used to actually run a fund of funds. And so he had a mutual fund that would just simply cherry pick the top fund managers, because that's the way the market works, is you will be in your zone and your strategy and your approach will just be bulletproof, but then the market state will change and your particular approach might fall out of favor. And so you sort of, just tread water. And so this guy used to just sit and cherry pick and just, actually have the fund managers fighting amongst themselves. I mean, that's how much of an operator this guy was. And he would just literally just top. So right now, if I was a fund of funds manager, I would be long Julian futures. And I might even be short Brian futures. Who knows? But the point here is, the content here on the free YouTube page is supposed to be considered edutainment. Please don't consider this your formal education. This is for fun. This is Brian ranting. Is there something you can take out of this? Of course, it's entirely free, so there's no pressure or anything involved with any of this. If you don't take any of the trade ideas that I tell you about, I will not be personally offended. But at the same time, too, I think it's extremely dangerous for you to just assume that you're going to use this channel as sort of your education guide, because it's just scratching the surface, everyone. So, PMA for the win. And I apologize if I stepped on people's toes today, but I really had to say my piece with regard to that. I don't like what I'm seeing, this trend developing, and I would prefer that it just stop now. Having said that, I'm sure I've opened up a massive can of worms, but oh well, we'll see what happens. Okay, guys, I hope that helps you. Clearly, as long as you're seeing things like forward spreads making lower highs and lower lows, we're now actually threatening to go into backwardization. As long as you still see tether well bid, as long as you see lower highs and lower lows, I don't think there's a huge hurry. I do believe that crypto has turned the corner, and I might argue that, if the public comes out and dumps crypto hard here, if they can actually bring price back down into below cost of production kind of models, that's value. I think that's really, really awesome buying opportunity. And as I've tried to say, I want to go and start setting up my property in Decentraland. So I'm on the bid. Of course, Brian, don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. I'm not allowed to chase. And if anything, I'm rooting for them to drive prices lower because I want to be a buyer, but I'm not allowed to buy up here. So get out there and sell, 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 so Brian can buy. All right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. I'm going to go have fun with the boy this afternoon. The great part about being with Liam, of course, is he does not give a shit about Bitcoin. So I get to disconnect for a few hours from this craziness. Of course, we'll see everybody bright and early for the daily brief tomorrow. And, of course, strap on. The next 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to be really crazy in the market. I don't think people are thinking rationally right now. If you're in the stock market, just cool your jets, wait for the W's. It's going to take some time. Think Trump dump, all that kind of stuff. And if you're in crypto, I would say the same thing, but I would actually argue pullbacks, dumps in crypto are far better buying windows than dumps in the stock market. So, all right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. All the best, and bye for now.